Okay, everybody, today I'm speaking with Fadya Risheq, who is a special guest from American Muslims for Palestine from Texas. So thank you so much for being here, Fadya.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. And maybe for people who don't know, we're going to talk about Palestine today and the conflict over there. And maybe just before we go through some basic questions, you live in Texas now, but you are from Palestine. Do I understand this correctly?
Yes, that's right. I was born, raised in Palestine, and then I moved to US.
And at what age did you move to the US?
I was beginning of maybe 1920s, something like that, and then
Hmm.
I moved to here so I can continue my study, and then I got married, and I'm here right now.
Nice. Got it. And I wanted to talk to you because many people like myself, or even many people who don't really know the history that well, even though I studied history, but I don't know specific details about the conflict nowadays between Israel and Palestine because I'm lacking some sort of context. I haven't never been there. We haven't studied the history in school, at least in Europe here, in that in depth. And so maybe it would be good to just hear from your perspective as someone who lived there, also your personal kind of stories, but also before that, maybe just giving us some context and going like way in the beginning of this conflict, because it's never, the conflict didn't start in 19, I don't know, 70. It's always before. So maybe we can talk about the overall history of the you know nowadays Palestine. And I don't know if you where do you want to start, but could you kind of sum up for us briefly the history, who used to live in the Palestine before the state of Israel? I know there were Jewish people, then there were even canonical people from Egypt, but like,
Mhm.
what's the history of the region? That would be great.
Well, this is we need a lecture by itself,
Hmm.
the history. But in a short thing, we call it an occupation, not a conflict, because when we say conflict, we basically equating same power, which is we don't have that. We have an oppressed and oppressors. So we refer to it as an occupation, Israeli occupation, not a conflict. It's not just a disagreement, regular disagreement.
Hmm.
So to the history, we know that Jewish, they used to be in Europe, they're oppressed, and they have a lot of things going on. And the Zionist movement started that they need to find a land. And Herzl, the one he started this political movement, it's not religious, it's a political movement that they need to find land for the Jewish. It was suggested in the beginning, actually, one of the place in Africa, but then
Hmm.
with the help of British, they declare that Palestine to be the what called now Israel, their place. So with everything going on, Jewish they start moving to Palestine, immigrant there. We have also the Balfour Declaration, which is in 1917, where they declare that approved that Palestine is the place for Israel. Um, and we have in 1948 where they also announced or established Israel state. But this is a start for Israel, but it was the Nakba, the catastrophe, ethnic cleansing for the Palestinian and expel them from their homes. So
Hmm.
and all the immigrants that they came, part of these Zionists that they came, they are militia, a terrorist groups that, with the help of British and Europe, they actually got control of many of the villages. They destroyed at that time. They destroyed 500 villages. They killed more than 13,000 Palestinian. So it was a massacre at that time.
In
And we have
1948 or what time?
yes,
1948. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Hmm.
So all ethnic cleansing. Then we have in 1948 this happening, and of course this is a systematic. And what we see today, by the way, this is continuing happening until today. So it's not just suddenly we're seeing that the bombing for Gaza or the expelling of a lot of Palestinians from their house. This is since they established, they've been doing that until today. But unfortunately, that that the media, we know that they're controlled by Zionists and white supremacy, and that they don't shed the lights on the Palestinian view.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we have World War One, World War Two, and then you have also 1967, where the Annexa happened. The Arab, they came and they tried to defend the Palestinian, and after that, they lost. And until now, we have the Zionist movement and what we call Israel occupying the Palestinian land, basically.
Mm-hmm. So, as far as I understand it, if I look at Orthodox Jews, they actually refuse the claim to Israel because they say in Torah it's written that Jewish people are expelled from the land and they forever has to be living as a diaspora, whether in the US or Europe or somewhere, but not in the land of that's Palestine. But Zionists, they do the opposite, and they often fight like this. What claim do they have for the land? Like what do you know, like is it because it's not based on the Torah, if I understand it correctly? So do you know some background into what is like their claim based on,
Yeah, well, this is a political movement, as we say, and they're a terrorist militia group. So they want to find a land to take it, and this is where they actually practice that in Palestine. Also, they claim that it's a land without people or people without land, which is not true because even when they came, there was the agriculture. The Palestine was also was known of producing paper, famous of that. They have buses goes to Syria, Jordan, what we call Bilad al-Sham. That it was in the bus you go to Syria, basically to Jordan you go with the bus. And all this document, we have even our own currency. It's say on Palestine. So they have their own political agenda. And again, this is a colonial settler project supported by Europe, that the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian, and is still supported by US.
But do you know like why? What is their gain? Is it mostly religious? So let's say that this is a holy land for Christians, Jews, and Muslims, all three Abrahamic faiths, right? Is this the
We
base, or is it something different?
Yes, we used to live, the Palestinian, Christian, Muslim, and Jews, they used to live peacefully until the Zionist political terrorist group, they came and start forcing their agenda, even on the Jews themselves, because Jews right now, they still refusing that please do not use our religion to establish your own political agenda to take over, lands and just to amplify your power. Basically they weaponize that, and they're using the anti-Semitic, we are against any form of anti-Semitic. We work with the Jewish community. We lived for years with Jews, Muslim, and Christian. No problems. Until the project, colonial project, started to take over.
Yeah, I've heard different stories where they say that they were there thousands of years ago, therefore they have the right to live there. But this seems strange to me because many countries had, like I come from Slovakia, we had lived in different countries. So, but I don't claim to go there. Like this doesn't make sense now. So I'm not sure how to look into that. But maybe you can tell us more about when you grew up in Palestine. What sort of oppression have you seen just like in your daily life, let's say in school or at home, or just like in your regular life, so that we can actually imagine the practical implications of this sort of oppression?
So basically, the Palestinian growing there, we have zero rights over there. Starting since I born, and not just me, all the Palestinians. I was born in Jerusalem. That you cannot get as a citizen. we are not citizen. Can you imagine you born in a country you are naive? Actually, you cannot vote, you cannot have a health care, you cannot, nothing you can have. They give you just temporary, and you can lose at any time. Under the same law, you can have, which is, this is law established in 1950 until now, that any Jews doesn't born anywhere, he can come and claim a home in Palestine. But me and my family and many of the Palestinian, we cannot do, which is the one we were born and raised there, that we can be a citizen. So the racist apartheid, the laws over there that discriminate depends on your religion, because any Jews, you know, this is the only racist country that they give citizen according to what religion you are. And then for us, you know, growing in Palestine, also the checkpoints, you know, that they're the barrier over there. Checkpoints also in the Palestinian territories. So that these checkpoints, you need to stand in a long line, and you're sick, you're pregnant, you're disabled, doesn't matter. You have to be in a long line, either walking or by car, because we have a roads for Jewish and we have a road for Palestinians. And for us, we're not allowed to go there, and they're not allowed to come to our road. Then this is by the Israeli occupation. These Israeli military in the Palestinian territories, where they check my ID, they even check you, you know, doesn't matter, you're not guilty, you're old, you cannot stand up, you have to follow their instruction. So by default, in their view, that the Palestinian all guilty unless you prove otherwise, you know, that terrorist mentality, that ISIS mentality, and there is no accountability whatsoever for whatever they do, you know, to the Palestinian. I mean, recently we saw how they killed a mother on one of the checkpoints in the Palestinian territory, where only Palestinians they go. They shot her. They claim, oh, she have a knife. No proof whatsoever. You know, they didn't even find a knife with her. Another doctor last week, also they shot her, and they let them bleed. Look how they want the Palestinian to be dead. Like even recently, they were chanting the good Arab, the dead Arab. So what they also do, the systemic of, they want the Palestinian to be dead. They want the ethnic cleansing, that when you shut up any person, how can you prevent the medics from treating them? They let them bleeding until they die, and then they let the medics come and take them. That's what we call apartheid. That's what we call ethnic cleansing. That's what we call a massacre, that they need to be held accountable. They need to be taken to the court. They are criminal, you know, they are militia, these settlement, these Israeli terrorist soldiers, that they bring them from Russia, from Germany, some of them, and some of them Europe. They don't even belong to the the land, you know.
But what are they checking at these checkpoints? Is it just your passport? Like what's their point of checkpoint?
Checkpoint, they want to make sure that you don't have anything. Checkpoint your ID. So they will go on the system and check just to see what you have on you. They may just ask you questions: where you born, why you are here, where are you going, even in the school for the.
But like in Jerusalem, this happens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like when I was go to school, for example, you know, they even randomly, if a soldier just come randomly, it's like, okay, open your bag. They stop you. It doesn't matter. You are late on your appointment. You're late for school. That doesn't matter. They don't consider any of that. You're pregnant. We have actually pregnant. They deliver babies on checkpoints. You know, that they did not let. They didn't even do any exception for them. We have a cancers children that they die because of that. I mean, people that got married even on a checkpoint. Can you imagine that my sisters, she lived like 30, 40 minutes, but because we have the wall apartheid and these barriers that they actually comes between the neighbors, it take us with the checkpoints and this wall apartheid wall, it take us like around 2 hours to 3 hours just to get there. In the regular roads, regular highway, before it used to take what, 30 minutes, 40 minutes? But with the wall that they built in barriers they put, they make it like 2 3 hours until I need to see my family. And not only that, her husband, the one they live in the West Bank, if they want to come and come and visit us, and her kids, they need to take a permit just to come and see us in Jerusalem. So the free of movement is not there. The basic human rights we are denied. Basically, you have to resist to exist in Palestine.
So would these checkpoints, like let's say in 1 week, would you go through them multiple times or?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
not just one or two. Could be three. Could be four. It depends. And sometimes when something happened, they lock the whole area. So you still stuck. All the roads, all the cars, or the people walking, they stay where they're at for an hour. Sometimes all day until the evening. Can you imagine how is the dad he gonna come to the house exhausted, the student, the teacher themselves? Like I remember that my teacher, Allah have mercy on his soul. I went to his office asking him a question, and subhanallah, next day I came, his office is closed, and I asked what happened, and we found out that he got shot while he was in his land. He's a farmer, he was just picking some olives, olives, from the tree, and with his children, they shot him, they killed him, and the claim was for the Israeli soldier, oh, by mistake we shot him. I mean, to go next day to my teacher funeral and just witnessing his kids around him, just to say goodbye, and his kids trying just to wake him up, Baba, get up, let's play together. And they don't understand he's no more there. His wife, I mean, and all they can come up with, oh, by mistake. Anyone will be held accountable? Any investigation? None of this happened. That no lawyer, no parents, even they can defend their children. How can you not, as a mother, defend your child and a military taking a 7 years old to a prison? Let them sign on a paper in Hebrew that they don't understand what they're signing on.
I mean, so they're taking the children and then they are putting them in a prison or some sort of segregated schools for.
It's a military. It's a
Okay.
military court, military prison for the children. They're not allowed to have no permission. They can come, blindfold them in the middle of the night. They come in to terrorize the children, and they take them in the prison. They integrate with them. And recently, actually, at 12 years old, from Hebron, that they took him, tortured him. They put him in a solitary room, and he died from torturing 12 years old. Can you imagine that? What he went through, this boy, by himself. And in the end, they tell his parents, come and take him, he's a dead. Certain thing I can't understand how they bombing Gaza and we're just watching on the TV and just not trying to push our government in, because they are supported by US and they are complicit with what's going on to the Palestinian.
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. In terms of Jerusalem, so you have 4 sides in the city, right? And everybody has their quarter. But can you go to the Jewish quarter or the Christian, or you have to stay within your kind of?
Yes, you have to stay in your quarter. We are not allowed to go to the Jewish quarter. Also, I don't know that we have the Afro-Palestinian. Afro-Palestinian, they're not just facing racism just because of they are Palestinian, but because they are Black.
Mhm.
The white supremacy, the Europe racist Zionists, they actually double on the Black Palestinian there. I want to see that they facing all kind of racism because of their color and because of Palestinian. And this is, I don't hear many, they actually mentioning that. And I want to make sure that their voice is also heard, that they sacrifice a lot. They are also being expelled from their houses. And we are one body over there that they resist and protest peacefully together.
Yeah.
And we have also the Ethiopian Jewish, they being also racist against them. They see them as a second class. I know there is also the immigrant Jews that they bringing. Also, they treat them very bad. So it's all kind of racism. They practicing on Palestinian, either Black, Christian, and Muslim. And we have also Jews too. Also, they being when they protest, they use, I don't know if you know, but they use against us when we protest skunk water. Where's a nasty, rotten water that they use it against the peaceful protester, where it smells very bad. This is beside the tear gas. That actually is stay for days until it go, the smell. And sometimes they do that even in the houses, that you have to leave your house because it's very bad. So the kids cannot breathe sometimes, so you have to move. You clean it, but it takes days until it goes away.
Yeah, I've heard about this substance they use, and yeah, that's pretty crazy. And so I just wanted to understand. So, in your view, basically, Israel as a state that was formed in 1948 is rotten from the basics. So, like even the founding of the state by I forgot the name of the person, but was based on Zionism. So it was based on
Theater person.
yeah, this person. So basically, the founding principle of the state is already a problem, which created this issue, right? It's not just now what's happening today, but it goes back to that time, right?
Yep.
Got
Yep.
it.
Because they build their so-called Israel on ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian, on the killing and expelling people from their land. So yeah, it's continued until today. It never stopped.
Yeah, it's pretty strange since considering Holocaust that happened to Jews basically just in that time. So I'm just looking back, like why would you use the same principle, just reversely on different group of people? But it just doesn't make sense to me. About what's happening right now in Palestine. What's your take on it? Maybe from the beginning of what happened in Al-Aqsa during Ramadan, when they kind of stormed the mosque. Since then to today, did anything change? Do you, except we've all watched the news, but like, what do you think is changing now? Also with the election, I think a new election happened. What do you think is kind of happening in the near future in this occupation, let's say?
For us as a Palestinian, nothing much has changed because we have a criminal, Netanyahu, then the new guy is the same.
So it's the same, okay.
Same, no difference for the Palestinian when it comes to what they call election or government. I mean, when you deny any human being, a nation actually, of their land, of their basic human rights, then how can we even believe in their election? I don't think, I think that this is all just same for us. No difference for the Palestinian.
I think
we're not included also, so we cannot vote. We have no input whatsoever in this election.
Right. Yeah, I'm just thinking from the perspective before I became Muslim, in terms of just like Israel, just how I viewed Israel, because the story is that there's a terrorist Hamas group, and Israel is fighting against it. This is the whole conflict, right? This is how it's portrayed here. Like that's how it's being in media, right? Yeah.
Right.
So this is like everywhere here, and then of course, I think what Hamas is doing and the buses they blew up or something is terribly wrong. But I understand the existence of this group because there's no military in Palestine. There's nothing. So like after being of years of killing your own people, then I guess this is what happens, right? This is the direct effect. And so what's this? What do you think about this when they say like, oh, we're just in this building, let's say there was Al Jazeera, the TV kind of crew, and they bombed it because there was Hamas there, but they weren't there. So like, what do you think like of this narrative that Israel always say like it's all because of Hamas, like everything is because of this? Do you think because it's portrayed over here like this is the thing, but I don't think that makes any sense.
Right, exactly. It doesn't make any sense because what Israel is doing, it was before even Hamas created.
Yeah.
So what did it claim before Hamas created? Now, when Hamas came, they start using this because they're trying to make it as a terrorist um, organization, but they don't reflect on their own action. When somebody thief is trying to act, another person is thief. But Hamas, it's a party like the Democratic and Republican Party in America. People they voted for Hamas. It's the government over there. So basically, everyone gonna deal with Hamas gonna be what? I mean, it's Gaza itself. It's one of the biggest open prison. You cannot not to deal with your own government if it's what's happening over there. And let's say if the people they want to leave over there, Israel is locking. It's locked. They can't leave anywhere. Where you want them to leave? So they can claim anyone can be Hamas. Anyone deal with them, it's Hamas, but it's the government over there. This is a narrative that Israel trying to basically just to make an excuse to their actions. They want this propaganda, this machine propaganda that Israel promoting to the world so they can justify the bombing Gaza, bombing the Palestinians, killing the children, torturing the women. That's what they use, unfortunately. And again, the media owned by Zionists, Zionists and white supremacy, unfortunately, and a lobby Zionist organization in America and Europe that they also unfortunately amplify this propaganda against the Palestinian. But if you are a conscious person, you look to the history, you look to what happened before Hamas and even after. Doesn't make any sense what they claiming. Also, Palestinians have. It's so sad that does the Palestinian doesn't have the right of self-defense, which is that question was asked to the Biden administration, and he could not answer that. Does the Palestinian have the rights of self-defense? He couldn't answer it. They asked him another question. Do you condemn killing the Palestinian children? He cannot answer that. Can you believe it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all politics, I guess. Do you think it's underneath everything? Is it about Islam? Is it about that they are scared of Islam? Like, do you think this is because I'm not thinking just in a context of Israel, Palestine, but the whole kind of West versus Islam kind of, is this kind of the underneath? Because that's what I feel from conversations with people. They just kind of not think that this is like second-class citizens, but like we should be careful, like these people are like dangerous. And now I'm a Muslim, so I can just claim like, hey, I've studied the Quran, I studied these things, and you can talk to me about it if you want. So it's just like, what do you think about that? Do you think people are this is kind of the underlying thing, because Islam is like a threat to maybe I don't know, the order in the world, or the modern kind of way of life? I don't know.
I mean, this is the Islamophobic narrative, actually. That's what they're trying to promote to invade a country. Always they have to create a boo-boo guy, or that terrorist group, or they have to have a make excuse to invade a country. Like they did, in Syria, they invade Syria, for example. They have to make something. Oh, the woman oppressed. Oh, they cannot free themselves. Oh, the president oppressed them, so they make
Hmm.
excuse. But in the behind, they took the oil actually in Iraq and in other countries. So to invade another country, you need to make some propaganda, and this narrative of Islamophobic, of anti-Islamic, because also Israel is anti-Muslim, and they promote the Islamophobic. I mean, we saw even recently how they curse Prophet Muhammad in their protest, how they say that go back to Europe. They, I mean, all sorts of stuff. They calling on our death, and we're just calling for our freedom in here. Regardless, what's your religion? We here asking for our human rights in here, and yes, we asking. This is a Muslim issue that we need to defend the Masjid al-Aqsa. We cannot just
Hmm.
leave them take over. In Jerusalem that they closed the masajid, also in Jerusalem and Palestine, many of the occupied area, they close the masajid. Some masjid they flip it to a club. This is our which religion they accept that their church, their synagogue, to be taking and humiliating even the religious people. No, this is about dignity. This is about our rights, about dignity, about our land. This is where we're born. And if they think, if by killing us they're gonna get rid of us, we are like the seed. We grow everywhere we go. So we are not going anywhere, inshallah. And one day we'll free our Al-Aqsa and Palestine, inshallah.
Inshallah. So yeah, I mean it's been great talking to you, and so thank you so much, Fadia, and yeah, enjoy the Friday and the weekend, of course.
You too. Thank you so much for having me, and Jazakallah khair for all the efforts. I looked at some of the video actually, and please keep up the good work, and may Allah accept from you and make it your sadaqah jariyah, inshallah.